Takuyapi. Ampetu washte waun. Relatives, it is a good day. My name is Tawny and we are back for another beading tutorial with Sister Beads. This time we're going to create these indigenous style fringe earrings using our size 11 seed beads. Hopefully you got used to working with this size when we created our 3-loop earrings. This fringe style is going to incorporate what is referred to as a ladder stitch and a brick stitch. Knowing how to do these methods will really lay the groundwork should you want to expand your beading knowledge further. What I love about this fringe style is that much like our 3-loop earrings, the design possibilities are only limited to your imagination. You can keep them shorter for more casual wearing or make them shoulder dusters to match your regalia or favorite ribbon skirt. You can also incorporate different types of beads or materials such as the dentillium shells that I've used on this pair. All right, when you pick up your packet from the library, inside your plastic bag, you're going to have our card that has the thread wrapped around it. The thread that we are using is the nylon thread size B. You will also have your size 12 English beading needle, and then you should have 2 earring hooks. One for each earring. And then we're using size 11 check seed beads, and for the pattern that we're using today is going to require 3 different colors. The tutorial that I will show you, I'm going to incorporate black, blue, and white, and you can mix them up into whatever colors that are inside your packet. Make sure you also have your scissors and you have a pair of pliers for dealing with your earring hooks. So to begin creating our fringe bead, we're going to start by having our needle threaded all the way almost down to the end. All right, so you can see that I had to create a needle out of a paper clip and then some heavier strings so you could see what I'm doing. I'm going to be creating our design using some pony beads so that you can hopefully follow along very easily. All right, the first thing we're going to do when we are making our fringe earrings is we actually start from the top. We're going to create this top piece first, work our way up, and then the fringes get created last. So as you can see with the design that I'm using, I'm going to be working with black first onto blue and then to white. Depending on what's in your packet, you can decide which color that you want to start with and which ones you want them to flow into. So to start, once I have threaded my needle, I'm going to pick up 6 black beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm going to pull them all the way through to the end, leaving myself about a couple inches of tail, something that I can kind of easily hold on to, all right? Then, so I have my 6 beads, tail on the bottom, main thread coming out of the top. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go back up through the first 3 beads. We're going to go through and we're going to pull, pull, pull. And essentially what we're doing is these bead rows are going to be right next to each other. So we've got our tail coming out of the bottom on the left, our main coming out of the top left, and then we're going to go back down through the 3 beads that we created in this side row. So what we are doing is we're working on our ladder stitch right now. So as you can see, we've already created 2 rungs of our ladder. Our tail is going to be on the left, our main bead is coming down on the right. Now to get our next row, I'm going to pick up 3 beads, and since this is coming from the bottom, we're going to go at it from the top. So now we go down, pull all the way through, and that creates the next row, and then we're going to go back up through the 3 beads that we just picked back up and pull that all the way through. So now we've got 3 rungs in our ladder. Our tail is still coming down on the bottom left. Our main thread is now coming up out of the top right. So since our thread is coming out from the top, we're going to go at it from the bottom for the next row. So we pick up 3 more beads, and again it's coming from the top, so we come from the bottom. So whichever way your main thread is coming out of, you choose the opposite in order to create your next row. So we're going to pull this until we've created our next rung. And then again, we go back through the beads that we just picked up. So that was our 4th rung on our ladder. Okay, so again, since this is coming from the bottom, we've got our tail all the way on our left, the main thread on our right. Pick up 3 more beads, and since it's coming from the bottom, we go from the top. Whoops. So we go down through the top, pull our beads through, and then we go back up again through the 3 beads that we already picked up. And now we have 5 rows in our ladder. All right, and now we're going to keep going following the same pattern. Remember, if it's coming from the top, we start our next row from the bottom. If it's coming from the bottom, we start from the top. Right now, like I said, we have 5. We need there to be 9. That's the way that we are working with this pattern right here. So 5, and now we're going to move on to having 9. So you should have kept going in the same pattern that we were using, and now you should have 9 rows of your ladder, or 9 rungs. The reason we use an odd number is because we're going to create essentially a pyramid, so we need this to be an odd number. So we could have stopped at 7, we could have stopped at 5, we could keep going to 11, but again, for the particular style of earring that I chose for us, we worked with 9. So at the very end, you should have your tail coming out of the bottom left, and your main thread with your needle should be coming from the top on the right hand side. So what we're going to do is you're going to pick up your pattern and you're going to flip it so that your tail is now coming out of the bottom right and your main thread is coming out at the top left. All right, so now we're going to switch to our brick stitch, where we're going to create our pyramid for the top of our earring. So to start the first row, we need to pick up 2 black beads. So we pick up 1 and 2. Now if you look at the ladder you created, you're going to see your thread poking through here. We're going to refer to these as bridges from here on out so that you hopefully can see where I'm going with my needle. So the first bridge in between the first and second rows, we're not going to go under that one, but we are going to go under the second bridge, which is between the second and third rungs on your ladder. So we're going to pass our needle under the second bridge. We're going to pull all the way through until those 2 beads are laying flat. We're going to go back through the first bead, pull our thread all the way through, and then we're going to go back through the other bead, pull all the way through, and then we're going to go back through the first bead again. We pull all the way through, and then you pull until those 2 beads should be laying down, one right next to each other. And now we're going to do sort of the same thing, but we're going to pick up just 1 bead this time. We're going to go through the next bridge, under the next bridge, pull all the way through, and then we're going to go back up through that bead we picked up, pulling through, and then kind of pulling that taut a little bit so that it lays flat. So we have 3 already. We're going to pick up our next bead. We're going to go under the next bridge, pull all the way through, back up through your bead again, and down, and pulling it down until it's laying nice. We're going to repeat this process of going under the bridge and back up through your bead. Sometimes this likes to loosen up, and so I just need to give the tail a little bit of a pull. But we go under our bridge, back up through our bead until we have made it to the end of this row. All right, once we've made it to the end, our main thread is going to be coming out of the top right, and our tail is also going to be on the right side but coming out of the bottom. So now we have to start the next row of our ladder. So we're going to pick our piece up, we're going to flip it over again so that both our tail and our main thread are coming out on the left hand side. And we're going to create this row exactly the same as we created the row before it. So we begin a row by picking up 2 beads, 1 and 2, and we don't pass under the first bridge, we pass under the second bridge. We pass under that second bridge, pulling all the way through. We go back through the first needle, or excuse me, through the first bead, through the second bead, and then back through that first bead again. Now if you'll notice how I'm holding this, I try to keep a bit hold on my tail so that this doesn't come out. We're going to deal with this tail at the very end, but for now it just kind of needs to be laid and pulled every so often so that your design can kind of stay in place. As you go, as you get better at this, this will tighten up, kind of stopping and pulling where you need to as you go, but don't worry about that. That's one of those things that the more you practice this design, the more the better you're going to get at it. So we're going to continue the same thing we were doing, and after we did our first initial 2, we're going to pick up 1, pass under our bridge, pull all the way through, go back up through the bead again, and pulling all the way to the end. And we're going to repeat this same process until we reach the end of this row. Okay, and so now we have our initial ladder that we created with the 3 beads that we picked up, and we've now created 2 rows of brick stitch. We're going to keep going. As you can tell, we're decreasing by 1 each time we go, and we're going to continue doing exactly what we're doing until we get to only having 2 beads at the very top. So we have our tail on our bottom left and our mane coming out from the top right. We're going to flip it over again so that our tail is at the bottom right, mane is at the top left. So we have now created the top part of our earring. We should have only 2 beads on top, and our main thread should be coming out of the top right hand side, and the tail should be on the bottom right hand side. So now we are going to create where the earring hook is going to live. So we take our needle, we're going to pick up 10 black beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So these 10 beads are going to serve as the home, if you will, these 10 black beads are going to serve as the home for the earring hook. So with our tail on our right, we picked up our 10 beads. We're going to take our needle and we're going to go down the entire length of this left hand side. So we're going to go down. Sometimes your needle is not long enough, so we can start and then finish. Just as long as you get all the way down. So now we have the top of our earring. We have the hook where, or the loop where the earring hook is going to live. And this is where we begin to create the fringe design. So what we're going to do, since I have black as our top color and fading into blue, we're going to start by picking up one black bead. Then we're going to do the part where we bleed the colors into one another. And I pick up a blue, black, blue, black, blue, black. So there are 6 in this design that I have come up with. Then we pick up 10 blue beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Let's make sure that's actually 10. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, that's 10. There's the blue. Now we have to bleed into the white, so we pick up white, blue, white, blue, white, and blue. There's 6 in that combination. Then we pick up 10 white. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is the design we have for the first line of our fringe. All right, now before we go back up, we're going to pick up 3 additional white. And we don't go through the 3 we've picked up, but we are going to pass our needle through this line of beads that we've created. So not the last 3, but everything else. We're going to go up. And again, just because our needle isn't going to quite reach, we have to go up a few of them. As far as our needle will go. Up, 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 up. And then not only are we going to pass our needle through the line of beads, but we're also going to go through that first rung of our ladder, okay? So the 3 that we started, the 3 beads that created all of our ladder rungs, we're also going to pass through that first rung. And we're going to pull. What I like to do is because these 3 are going to create, this little design at the bottom, I like to hold the middle bead and then pull the remainder of my thread. And then that kind of forces it to create this little design at the bottom. All right, so then there's our first row of our fringe. So now we take our needle, and I'm going to go back down through the next rung in our ladder. So back down through the rung. All right. Now for this next line, we're going to repeat this exact same pattern, except we're going to increase this first black bead by 2 every time. So first we picked up just 1 black bead. Now we're going to pick up 3. So there's our 3 black beads. Now we do our 6 beads that are the color where the colors bleed. So we go blue, black, blue, black, blue, black, because we always start with the next color when we're doing when we're changing from one color to the other. All right, and then remember we pick up the 10 blue beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we do the part where we bleed the blue into the white. We start with the white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, alternating white and blue. And then the 10 more white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, so we picked up the 10 white, and now remember we pick up 3 more, so we create this little triangle at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. And we don't pass our needle through the 3, but we do pass it through the whole rest of this line. So we're going to go back up again. Through the line, and then remember through the next 3 that were your ladder. And again, I'm going to hold on to this middle bead and pull my thread. And that again helps create our little triangle at the bottom. All right, so that's pulled taut. Sometimes if you want to make sure they're laying nice, I like to roll them. It helps until you get your tension right. All right, then, so we're on 1, 2, we're on the 3rd one, so we're going to go back down through that next rung of our ladder. And we're going to keep repeating this pattern. So this time, so the first row we picked up only 1 black bead, then we picked up 3. So now this one we're going to pick up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we would continue on with alternating into the colors that bleed first. So the blue, black, 10 of our next color, 6 for the bleed color again, 10 and 3. And we're going to continue doing this until we reach the middle row. So because there are 9 rows, you're going to keep increasing by 2 until you get to the 5th row. Once you get to the 5th row, then you're going to start decreasing by 2, because if you see the way this pattern is set up, we start with short, we go to the longest in the middle, and then it starts getting short again on the furthest side away. Once you have created all the fringe pieces for your earring, I'm going to show you how we finish. So we're going to go back up through our very last fringe. I have my last 3 beads that I have picked up. So we are going to go up through. Again, this is the last row of our fringe. And we do just like we've done through the whole rest of our fringe pieces, is we go up through that ladder. Alright, and making sure our little triangle at the bottom works. Alright, so we've gone up through the end of the ladder right here. So our tail is going to be sticking out the side, and we've got our main thread. We're going to go all the way up through the entire right side of our earring. We're going to pass our needle through this entire edge. And then we're also going to pass through this loop again where our earring hook is going to live. And that's going to give it really that extra support because we'll have a double thread going through it now. So we're going to go up through the 5, and we're going to go down through the 5 on the other side, as well as the 2 that created the top of the pyramid. So we're going to come out, I'm going to wiggle our needle in there through, come out. We went through that entire loop where the earring hook is going to live. So now I'm going to kind of push down the loop. I'm going to lay it backwards and expose some of my thread between there. And I'm just going to try to drive my needle underneath anywhere that I can get it through. And I'm just going to make a double knot. So there's one knot. Put my needle where I can through it again and create another knot. And then I'm just going to take my needle and I'm just going to pass it back through the whole other side again, and just go a little ways down that first fringe that we created, coming out wherever, doesn't really matter. I'm going to come out, pull that taut, and then snip off the remaining thread. So now the only loose thread that we should have left is our tail. So then I'm going to take my tail and I'm going to discard that other thread. I'm going to thread my needle with the tail. And this is why it's important we leave a pretty good sized tail. I kind of shorted myself here, so hopefully you left yourself a bit bigger of a tail. But I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to go, because it's coming down the end ladder, I'm going to go up the next rung of my ladder. I'm going to go up one, and it should be a little difficult to get through. That's good because that tension is essentially what's going to hold this thread in place. And then we're going to go down the next rung, and we're also going to pass through as many beads as we can get our needle through. We go through the rung, just pass through however many beads you can, coming out somewhere in the middle of your fringe. And we're going to pull that tight, and we're going to clip off the excess.